From a scared little reindeer protecting the ship all by himself to a man absorbing enough pain to kill him 10 times over and still standing. This is every nothing happened moment in One Piece, ranked from least to most intense. And we're starting with the guy who actually said it before Zoro ever did. Yeah, seriously. During the Skypiea arc, while the rest of the crew went off to explore the upper yard, Chopper got left behind to guard the Going Merry. Sounds like an easy job, right? Well, not when the ship is parked on a literal sacrificial altar. So when Shura, one of Enel's priests, showed up to destroy the Merry, Chopper had a choice. Run and save himself, or stay and protect the ship. He stayed. This tiny reindeer, who's scared of practically everything, went up against a priest who could have easily killed him. The Merry caught fire, Chopper got beaten badly, but he refused to leave. He fought off those attackers as best as he could, protecting the ship and waiting faithfully for his crew to return. And when the crew finally came back and asked if he was okay, Chopper, tears streaming down his face, said this: "Nothing scary happened." Sound familiar? Bro said it before Zoro made it iconic. But that's not even his real nothing happened moment. That comes later at Enies lobby. During his fight against Kumadori from CP9, Chopper was completely outmatched. This guy was too fast, too strong, and Chopper was pinned down with no way out. He was about to die, so he did the one thing he knew could kill him. He ate a third Rumble Ball. See, Chopper knew exactly what would happen. He'd lose control, he'd turn into a giant berserk monster, he might hurt his own friends, and the transformation would most likely destroy his body from the inside. But in that moment, Chopper made a decision. If he was going to die anyway, he wanted to go out protecting his crew, so he transformed. He wrecked Kumadori, and then he nearly died in the ocean because he couldn't control himself anymore. Chopper never told anyone he made that choice. He never asked for thanks. He just quietly accepted the consequences. That's the nothing happened attitude right there. Dang, that was emotion. But not as emotional as this next moment, because this guy took a literal lightning bolt to the chest and asked for seconds. During the Skypiea arc, Enel was about to unleash his flying ship, the Arc Maxim, and rain destruction down on the entire island. The only way to stop it was to sabotage from the inside, so Sanji snuck aboard. While everyone else was fighting on the ground, Sanji was alone in the belly of that ship, kicking apart the controls and messing up Enel's entire plan. Nobody asked him to do it. Nobody even knew he was there. He just did it because that's who he is. But here's where it gets crazy. While Sanji was inside, Nami and Usopp were getting chased down by Enel on the deck. And when Enel charged up his massive Thor attack, there was no way they were surviving that. That's when Sanji appeared out of nowhere. He kicked Usopp onto Nami's waiver, told them both to escape, and just stood there. Enel's lightning hit him full force. The attack was meant to kill, and Sanji, he was cooked, literally smoking, barely standing. But being the tough cook he is, he looked at Enel and said, "Thanks, I needed a light." Then he collapsed. The guy absorbed a god-level lightning attack, made a joke about it, and passed out. Meanwhile, Enel's ship started falling apart because of what Sanji did earlier. So not only did he save Nami and Usopp, he also delayed Enel's entire plan to destroy Skypiea, and he never bragged about any of it. Dang, that was cold. But while Sanji was willing to die for 2 crew members, this next person was willing to die for all of them, and it's heartbreaking. Nico Robin's nothing happened moment isn't the "I want to live" scene. I know, that moment is iconic, but hear me out. Her real nothing happened moment happens at Dressrosa during the fight at the Sunflower Field. After Robin turned back from being a toy, Luffy gave her one simple order: protect Rebecca. And for Robin, Luffy's word is law. If the captain says protect someone, that person stays protected no matter what. That's how much she trusts him. So when Diamante started attacking Rebecca, Robin stepped in. But instead of fighting back, she focused entirely on defense. Her job wasn't to win. Her job was to make sure Rebecca survived. Then Diamante unleashed his Iron Ball rain, hundreds of spiked metal balls falling from the sky like a storm. Robin put up a giant flower umbrella to shield Rebecca. The attack hit again and again and again. After Kiros finally took Diamante down, Rebecca looked at Robin and smiled. Robin smiled back. And then we see Robin's back. It's completely destroyed. Those spike balls had torn through her shield and slammed into her over and over, but she never flinched. She never made a sound. Rebecca didn't even know Robin was injured. Robin took all that pain in silence because Luffy said Rebecca would be safe. She completed her mission and smiled through the agony. That's Robin for you. Now that was a silent sacrifice. But this next guy, he went up against one of the strongest characters in the entire show and called her Young Lady. Yeah, you heard that right. At Whole Cake Island, Brook was assigned to copy Big Mom's road poneglyph. Simple enough, right? Except Big Mom herself showed up to stop him. Now, most people would panic. This is Big Mom we're talking about, dude. One of the 4 emperors of the sea. A pirate so powerful, she can basically be classified as a force of nature. Brook didn't flinch. He got blasted by Zeus, roasted by Prometheus. Big Mom threatened to kill the entire crew if he didn't give up. And Brook just looked her dead in the eyes and said, "No one will die, young lady." Yeah, Brook called Big Mom young lady, because technically he's 22 years older than her. The man is 90 years old. What a legend. He lost the fight, obviously, but it's Big Mom. The fact that he even survived is pretty remarkable. Then later, when Nami and the others rescued him, Brook just casually opens his skull and hands over the poneglyph copies like nothing happened, like he didn't just go one-on-one with an emperor. That's as cold as it gets. But then again, he's a skeleton. Now those moments were impressive, but the entire story would have ended if it wasn't for this next guy, because he would die for his entire crew without a second thought. Luffy's nothing happened moment is the climb of Drum Island, and it's brutal. When Nami got hit with a deadly fever, the crew needed a doctor fast. Problem was, the only doctor on the island lived at the top of a massive icy mountain, and there was no easy way up. Then an avalanche knocked Sanji out cold. Go figure. So now Luffy had to carry both of them. Picture this: Luffy climbing a frozen mountain with his bare hands, Sanji clenched between his teeth, Nami strapped to his back, no gloves, no gear, barefoot in his shorts, because that's just how Luffy rolls. The cold was shredding his skin. The rocks were tearing his hands apart. He was bleeding, freezing, and barely holding on. He even fought off an actual avalanche while climbing, but stopping wasn't an option. So when his crew needed him, leaving a crewmate behind is just not something Luffy does. After hours of climbing, literally putting himself through physical hell, Luffy finally reached the top and immediately collapsed from exhaustion. Nami and Sanji, they didn't even know what he did for them, just like how Luffy still doesn't know what Zoro did at Thriller Bark. That was the captain showing his loyalty. But the next moment proves you don't need monster strength to have a nothing happen moment. You just need faith in your captain. During the Wano arc, Nami and Usopp were getting destroyed by Page 1 and Ulti. And when I say destroyed, I mean Ulti cracked Usopp's skull with her headbutt and then grabbed Nami by the throat. Nami was terrified. She was crying. Then she begged for life, saying she'd do anything to survive. And Ulti gave her one condition: say that Luffy will never become the Pirate King. Easy, right? Just lie. Say the words and survive your life for a simple little lie. Good deal. But Nami didn't think it was a good deal. She looked Ulti straight in the face, knowing it would probably cost her life, and said Luffy will become the king of the pirates. She didn't have monster strength. She didn't have a devil fruit that could save her. She just had absolute faith in her captain, and she was willing to die for it. That's how much she believes in Luffy. And speaking of standing up for Luffy's dream, this next guy did it with a broken skull, like literally broken. Back in Alabasta, Usopp and Chopper were fighting Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas. Things were going badly, like really badly. Then the Baroque Works agents told them Luffy was dead, killed by Crocodile. Usopp didn't believe it. He said Luffy couldn't die because he was going to be the next Pirate King. They laughed at him. Then Mr. Four smashed Usopp's head with a 4-ton bat. His skull cracked. He went down. It looked like he was finished, but then Usopp stood back up, face completely broken, blood everywhere, and he said, "A real man never lets his friends' dreams be laughed at." Then, barely able to stand, he used every trick he had and took down both agents with Chopper's help. Look, Usopp's a coward. He admits it constantly. He runs from fights, he makes excuses, but when Luffy's dream is on the line, when someone laughs at his captain, he becomes something else entirely. That's the real Usopp. So hard-boiled. And speaking of hard-boiled, this next guy tried to stop a train with his bare hands. Yeah, a whole train. Finding a nothing happened moment for Franky was tricky. The guy is loud and proud and about pretty much everything he does. But there's one moment that fits perfectly, and it's heartbreaking. Back in his flashback when Tom was sentenced to death by Spandam and the world government, Franky couldn't accept it. This was his mentor, the man who raised him, the only father figure he ever had, and he was about to lose him forever. So Franky tried to stop the sea train. He shot it with a cannon first. Didn't work. So he stood on the tracks and literally tried to stop it with his bare hands. Obviously, he wasn't strong enough. The train hit him, nearly killed him, left him broken and bleeding on the tracks. And Tom never even knew Franky tried. That's what makes it a nothing happened moment. Franky gave everything to save someone he loved, failed, and never got credit for trying. He carried that pain silently for years. Now that was cold. But not all One Piece moments are cold. Some can be extremely hot, like this next guy who took a magma punch for someone he just met. During the Marineford War, Luffy was on a desperate mission to save his brother, Ace. The battle was chaos. Marines, pirates, and warlords all clashing at once. Jinbei had only met Luffy that same day. They weren't crew yet. They barely knew each other. But when Admiral Akainu threw a magma punch aimed at Luffy's head, Jinbei didn't think twice. He stepped in front of it. A magma fist, straight through his back, which is as bad as it sounds. And he didn't flinch. He just kept protecting Luffy. But that's not even his coldest moment. Later, at Whole Cake Island, Jinbei walked up to Big Mom and told her he was leaving her crew to join the Straw Hats, which is basically like telling your terrifying boss you're quitting on the spot. Big Mom tried to use her soul powers to take his lifespan as punishment. But here's the thing about that ability. It only works if you fear death. Jinbei looked her dead in the eyes and said, "A man who intends to join the crew of the future Pirate King doesn't cower before a mere emperor." Her powers didn't work because Jinbei wasn't afraid. He never bragged about taking a magma punch. He never made a big deal about standing up to Big Mom. For Jinbei, protecting his friends and sticking to his moral code is just what he does. No need to talk it up. Now, before we get to the moment that defined everything, we need to talk about two people who aren't officially Straw Hats, but have done more for Luffy than most people ever will. And trust me, these moments will give you goosebumps. This man is the definition of loyalty, and his sacrifice, one of the most emotional moments in the entire series. Back in Impel Down, Luffy and the others were escaping from the most dangerous prison in the world. They made it to a ship. They were so close to freedom, but there was one problem. The gates of justice had to be opened for them to reach Marineford, and the only way to do that was from inside the prison. Someone had to stay behind. Bon Clay didn't hesitate. He stayed in that hellhole, knowing exactly what Magellan would do to him. This was a man who had only known Luffy for a short time. They started as enemies, but Bon Clay was willing to give up everything for him. As the ship sailed away, Luffy called him on the transponder stand. He was crying, bawling his eyes out, thanking him, begging him to somehow survive. And Bon Clay just smiled and said, "Go save your brother." He gave Luffy the chance to save Ace, and he did it knowing he would probably never leave Impel Down alive. That's not just a nothing happened moment. That's one of the purest acts of sacrifice in the entire story. And Bon Clay never asked for anything in return. That was devastating. But now we need to talk about the moment that made nothing happen iconic. The scene everyone thinks of when they hear those words. Yeah, go ahead. Debate me on this one. I'll defend it. Let me set the scene for you. Thriller Bark. The crew just barely survived their battle against Moria. Everyone is passed out, recovering from the fight of their lives. Then Bartholomew Kuma shows up. This dude is another warlord on a whole other level, man. He's got the Pawpaw Fruit, which lets him repel anything, including pain and fatigue. The world government sent him to clean up the mess, and he's got his sights set on taking Luffy down. Kuma offers Zoro a deal. Hand over Luffy, and everyone else lives. Obviously, that's a no-go for Zoro. So Kuma does something else. He extracts all of Luffy's pain and fatigue from the entire battle and compresses it into a bubble of pure agony. He tells Zoro that if someone absorbs it, he'll let the crew go. But the pain would almost certainly kill whoever takes it. Zoro doesn't hesitate. He offers himself, his life for his captains. Sanji tries to step in. He wants to take the pain instead, but Zoro knocks him out cold. This was his burden to carry, nobody else's. Kuma gives him a small taste of what's inside that bubble, just a sample, and it didn't look good. Zoro nearly collapsed from that alone, but he still takes the whole thing. The scene cuts away. When we come back, we find Zoro standing in a pool of his own blood, arms spread, barely alive, but unbroken. The sun is rising behind him. Sanji finds him like this and asks what happened. Zoro, with the weight of that hellish pain still lingering inside him, simply says, "Nothing happened." That's the line that started it all, the moment that defined what loyalty means in One Piece. But here's the thing, that moment, it only happened because of Kuma, and what Kuma did next makes Zoro's sacrifice look like a warm-up. Remember the guy who gave Zoro that pain bubble, the warlord who tested his loyalty? Yeah, turns out he had his own nothing happened moment, and it lasted 2 years. After the events of Sabaody Archipelago, Kuma approached Vegapunk with one final request. See, Kuma was slowly being turned into a cyborg. His memories were being erased. His personality was being deleted. He was becoming a mindless weapon for the world government. But before his mind was completely gone, he wanted one last mission programmed into him. Protect the Thousand Sunny until a Straw Hat returns. And that's exactly what he did. For 2 years, Kuma stood guard over that ship alone, fighting off anyone who tried to touch it. Marines, pirates, pirates, bounty hunters, it didn't matter. He stopped them all. Think about that. 2 years, standing in the same spot, taking damage, fighting battle after battle, with no memory of why he was even doing it anymore. His mind was gone, but his mission remained. When Frankie finally returned to the Sunny after the time skip, he found Kuma sitting there, completely destroyed. His body was falling apart. He was barely functioning anymore, but the ship was safe. And then Kuma just left. No celebration, no thanks expected, no recognition. Mission complete. Later, we see him at the Reverie being used as a mindless slave by the Celestial Dragons. Nobles were riding on his back, using him as a horse. That was his reward for protecting Luffy's ship. After 2 years of dedication, 2 years of taking damage alone, and nothing but suffering afterward. That's the ultimate nothing happened moment, because nothing happened to the Sunny, and Kuma made sure of it. If you made it to the end, comment nothing happened down below, and click on this video next, where I explain what would happen if Zoro was reborn with his memories.